Good evening, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Thank you for joining us here this evening. If you don't know, you have reached TradeBlocked, one of Club Fantasy's amazing shows, where we answer all the trade-related questions you could possibly have. Uh, I am one of the trio of hosts here for you this evening. Dustin at FF Dusty Dog. The other experts on our panel, we've got Hoov at HoovTube and Joel at the Joel Worth. Gentlemen, it's glad to be back in the saddle. I'm not gonna lie, missed you boys last week, and it's nothing better than being here talking fantasy with you guys. So I'm excited to chop it up here. We've got a great episode this evening. We're holding ourselves accountable, which I don't know that a lot of analysts do that out there on the regular. But yeah, mid-season, we're going to hold ourselves accountable, talk about some of the players that we've been talking about throughout the offseason and through the first half of the regular season here, and tell you if we've changed how we feel about these players, or if we're higher, lower, what the scoop is. So time for a price check here on season to date. But before we get into it, gentlemen, how are you doing?
Age before beauty.
Struggling. I'm dealing with a cold and a lot of crap at work, and understandably stressed about the events of the evening. So, but I'm hanging in there.
All right. Well, you have beauty too. Yeah. You're beautiful. Yeah, it's we're gonna have a good week this week. I know that there's gonna be a lot of accountability being spread amongst the three of us, mainly on one corner of the screen, mainly me, but that's okay. We're gonna have a good week, and I'm okay with doing it because we got to get up to date, and I want to do this at least halfway throughout the season when we do this, and at the end of the season as well. We have so many people to go through. I'm honestly kind of nervous if we're even going to get through all of them tonight because we have literally so many players. I think we had 6 people before the season started, and then 9 weeks so far. So we got a lot, but the main thing I was going to ask the chat to do tonight is if you guys have any dynasty assets that you're wondering you want us to break down the rest of the season going forward, drop that player in the comment section tonight, and we will put that on the list. We really want to make sure that we are addressing all the fans' comments and concerns. So go ahead, drop a player in the comment section tonight.
Yep, absolutely. So let's just get right into it. Let's not waste any more time since we do have so many players to get through. So who is the first player we're going to talk about? Are we going to start way back at the beginning? Or are we going to bounce around here? What's your flavor?
Let's go in order. Let's go in chronological order, because I remember when we put this show in order, I said this has to be episode numero uno, and it makes perfect sense because he was wide receiver numero uno this last week, and that is what is Jackson Smith and Jigba's current value. Let's go.
And I thought about you all day Sunday when he was going off. I was just like, oh, Hoov is just pants are off. I'm sure of it.
Oh, the pants were never on. That's the real thing. But I'm gonna be real about my love for JSN. I know everyone's coming here tonight. They're saying Hoov's gonna hype up JSN. I'm gonna be really real with you all because I need to be real and I need to be consistent with my analysis. If I'm gonna knock players like Jaden Reed, I gotta be consistent with even players that I love like JSN. Joel, what about you, man? JSN.
Better than I was at the time, but still not. I'm not at your level. I'm still not there.
What's my level? You tell me what's my level.
I think you think he's a top 12 dynasty receiver.
No, I wouldn't go that far. See, that's 15? Where I mean, like you got to pump the brakes. So let's look at JSN's current value, and then we'll assess the 5 wide receivers around JSN's ranking on Dynasty Nerds, our partner Dynasty Nerds, afterwards. So JSN's current value on Dynasty Nerds, he is currently wide receiver 25. And he is currently wide receiver 14 on the season in full PPR leagues. So you're drafting JSN at wide receiver 25. This output at wide receiver 14, Are you feeling good about that? How are you feeling if you drafted JSN?
I think you got to feel good about it. I mean, he's outperforming his ADP at this point, but you know,
You got to temper that expectation with how many receivers have been hurt this year, though. I mean, the list is Godwin, Rice, Nico Collins, and Steph Diggs. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So he's wide receiver 14, but that's kind of by default.
Right.
He's only had his massive games when DK Metcalf has been limited or out. That's my concern. Yeah, is that he hasn't done it with DK Metcalf in the lineup.
There's no argument out of that. I'm glad that you said it and I didn't have to, because I've said process by elimination how many times on this show now. And like, that's really what's happening, is that all these top tier wide receivers that they keep getting hurt rest of the season, and then players that you wouldn't really expect to be in top 24 range, that they're just moving up the ranks. And I love JSN. I think that he could finish as wide receiver 14 down the road, but like, this isn't how I kind of envisioned it. This is very boomer bust like, and I'm gonna be real. If you probably drafted JSN at value, you're probably winning, but I think that the gains between wide receiver 25 and wide receiver 14 is a little inflated right now, and you're probably seeing him more at like wide receiver 21, 25, this range. So I'm gonna victory lap it, but only once. I'm not gonna like run around the whole stadium. I'll do the track, but not the whole outside.
That's fair.
Yeah. All right. Let's look at the 5 wide receivers around JSN just to see like how everyone's feeling. Once again, on our partner Dynasty Nerds. Zay Flowers at wide receiver 23, Ladd McConkey at wide receiver 24, JSN at wide receiver 25, Brandon Ayuk at wide receiver 26, and George Pickens at wide receiver 27. So is he the best pick of this bunch? Where would you rank JSN out of these guys in this tier right now?
Ayuk's only in there because he's hurt. Another one of those guys who's hurt and out for the year that you would have had taken above him earlier in the season. So I think you can make a case for JSN amongst all those. You would be kind of coin flips with all of them.
What's the first name that stands out? Probably Ayuk to you.
Ayuk. Mm-hmm.
McConkey's been better than I thought he would be. So.
And that's one of the things that my bet with Jack, that when he came on, we talked about Ladd McConkey and JSN, and we have an ongoing bet between the two on their season total. And right now I'm looking like I'm going to win that, but Ladd McConkey has outperformed every expectation that I had rookie season, especially in this offense. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to say it publicly just in case Jack's out there listening, but I think I'm there that I probably would take Ladd over JSN in a dynasty startup. But Flowers, man, I can't knock Flowers right now either. That's my guy. So this is a really good tier, and I'm not gonna complain if I have JSN. I probably for sure still take him over Pickens. Some people might like Pickens over JSN, but it's very similar to, like, if you compare this, like the points between Jaden Reed and JSN on a side by side. Jaden Reed has better weeks, but like it's very, very similar. And so like he's not the best boom bust player, that's Jaden Reed, but JSN's very, very, very right there. So I'm not going to hate picking JSN in this tier at all.
So here's a question. Would you say Lockett retires at the end of the season? Is he just a replacement Lockett 2.0? He's just going to be kind of a boom bust type player?
It's what it looks like.
Yeah, it's hard to say otherwise, but I will be optimistic and I'll say that this is the first year that McDonald's there. You know, maybe we're not seeing the best of Geno Smith. We've seen good moments, we've seen bad moments. I'm seeing a few people that are pushing for Sam Howell. So I don't know if I'm there yet, but I don't want to put him in that category quite yet. until we get a long-term quarterback up there in Seattle. Then I can tell you for sure. And that possibly could be next year.
Lockett really hasn't done anything this year, so it's not like he's got a ton of opportunity that's just going to come his way if Lockett goes away. The issue is DK Metcalf, because he hasn't done anything when Metcalf's been healthy and at full strength. So that's really the concern with JSN, is he is clearly a second banana in that offense.
Yeah, and that's why I can't take
a third banana. He's behind Ken Walker as well.
Oh, yeah, and that's why I can't take the full lap, because I thought that he was going to be like a complementary piece to DK Metcalf. Like I thought Christian Kirk was going to be a complementary piece to Brian Thomas Jr. or Rome Odunze to DJ Moore and like, throughout the league. But he really has been, if DK Metcalf's gone, that's his high. So I'll be realistic about that. But I have no other real comments about JSN, as much as I'd love to.
I think that's fair.
So should we move on to week 2, our second episode of Trade Blocked?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. What is Jonathan Taylor's current value right now? That's a tough one. This is probably going to be some of my accountability here, but Jonathan Taylor's current value on Dynasty Nerds is RB6, and at 2024 he is RB25 currently. Not a great showing this season out of Jonathan Taylor. I thought that he had he was a dark horse candidate. I don't even know if you could say dark horse, because he was right there, but I thought he had a real shot at being the RB1 this season, and that is a cold take. So I'm going to take some accountability here. That was a terrible take. I apologize for putting that out there, but after this tier, it was between JT and ETN, and would you really want ETN right now either? That's another part of accountability I got to take there with ETN, but still, like, I can't really hate JT, but he has definitely not lived up to expectations like I thought.
He's a 25-year-old. He's a 25-year-old running back who has no role in the passing game and has missed significant chunks of time for significant games in each of the past 3 seasons. He has no dynasty value at this point, other than a contender looking for running back production. Nobody wants him.
You nailed that one.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that take. Like, as much as I hate it, it's I think he couldn't say it any better. Like,
that was great.
I got the jersey on my wall, but I mean, facts are facts. Facts are hard things to argue with.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was just gonna do 5 running backs underneath Taylor to see how far he fell, but I decided to opt against it. I wanted to make it universal to all of our trades, just in case I was the only one feeling that way, and he was at value. But Devin Achane, RB4, Saquon Barkley, RB5, JT, RB6, Kyron Williams, RB7, and Kenneth Walker at RB8. And I don't think I would take JT over any of these guys currently at all.
Nope.
So
not even close.
Nope.
Yeah. So second episode of Trade Blocked, not as fun as the first one. Gotta be real.
That's what happens when you do old running backs.
But people want to know. The people want to know. So we tried. We failed. But failure is one of the greatest lessons, greatest teachers in life. I know this as a massive failure. So let's move on to someone that was a failure. This is a great transition on my part. Let's look at someone that was a failure for a long time, but now the man is back. What is Kyle Pitts' current value? How are you feeling? Before I even show you what he's at, how are you guys feeling about Kyle Pitts right now?
Oh, I think the same I was at the beginning of the season. The talent's there. He's just the offense doesn't flow through him like we hoped we would. And that's just the reality of it. He's maybe if after his rookie contract, he goes somewhere else that'll better utilize him. Maybe then his dynasty value will increase, but he's got all the talent in the world. It's just the offense goes through Drake London and Bijan.
Yeah, I'm gonna rack up some more accountability over here. As a hater myself, I was trying not to be a hater on this episode. I really was. I was thinking of Smokey out there, my best friend Smokey. But But like he has done what I thought he has, but I also was the hater that was like, watch Taysom Hill just sneak in there and kick Kyle Pitts out of the top 10. But he has been in the top 10 this season. He has been outperforming what he has been, you know, like being an actual starting tight end for fantasy managers. And so that's kind of what I thought is I'm like, he can do better with Kirk Cousins and he can do better with a better offense, but that doesn't mean that he's going to be he's going to just jump back to being like a tight end 3 in dynasty value. I never thought that was going to be a thing. I thought he was going to be better, but that doesn't mean that like I'm going to be picking Kyle Pitts over guys like George Kittle or even some of the younger guys. So let's look at what his current value is. Kyle Pitts, Dynasty Nerds, tight end 5, and he is the tight end 7 on the year currently. Does that feel right? Would you expect higher or lower, right?
And the problem is like the entire tight end market, other than Tucker Kraft, is just completely crashed. So, yeah, I mean, it feels about right. The problem with Pitts is just the inconsistency, right? I mean, he puts up a monster game on National Tight Ends Day and then comes back last week and goes 1 for 11. It's like it's massively frustrating. So, yeah, he's a really tough guy to own, honestly.
See, I thought that it was going to be like he was going to do so much better. And he is doing better in this offense, but he's also doing better in a tight end market crash. So like you have to factor it in there, but he is, you know, he's doing what everyone else is doing other than Brock Bowers and Tucker Kraft. So you got to kind of give him the benefit of the doubt because everyone else has slacked as well.
Here's a question. Would you rather have Pitts or Sam Laporta right now?
I'd rather have Sam Laporta, but I also rank him higher.
Same.
Interesting.
This really does feel appropriate at like tight end set. Let's look at the people around him just to see. Sam Laporta, tight end 3, Dalton Kincaid, tight end 4, Kyle Pitts, tight end 5, TJ Hawkinson, tight end 6, George Kittle, tight end 7. So how does that feel? You taking all these guys over Kyle Pitts?
I'm not taking Laporta and Kincaid over him. Laporta's done nothing. Kincaid's done absolutely nothing. Kincaid's the most overrated player in the league right now, honestly. So yeah, I would rather have Pitts. Hawkinson's back, so I would probably take him because he'll probably round into shape and be better. And Kittle, obviously, you're taking with the environment with Ayuk out because he can win you a league this year. But yeah, I'd rather have Pitts. I mean, Pitts's high spots have been higher than Laporta and Kincaid, even though with the same amount of lows, honestly. So
I agree with the points that you're making. The only thing that I would say is that if I'm looking at it like dynasty wise, Atlanta's offense doesn't intrigue me. Like Buffalo's offense, it's got some spark. Lions obviously has some spark. That's why I pushed Tucker Kraft, in my opinion, all the way up to tight end 2. So I think I would take all these guys over Kyle Pitts still. But that feels right. Like that doesn't make me a hater. That feels pretty appropriate in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't mind Laporta where he is, but Kincaid I have no interest in whatsoever. That's the one real outlier on this list for me, and I would have him below all these guys easily.
Yeah. Like out of all 5 of these, who's in the worst offense? I think it would be Pitts.
They're all on really good offenses.
Like, but if you were going to be critical,
yeah,
if you're asking who's got the worst quarterback, and right now it's Hawkinson, but I would clearly take Hawkinson over Pitts. So
I can agree. I can agree to that, but it's also like that Minnesota offense. Like once JJ McCarthy's in there, that team's gonna be so scary. I'm terrified of the Vikings. I just had to get that out. But I think that I'm still more worried about the Vikings than I am about the Falcons on a weekly basis. So I would probably give Hawk the nod. And then plus, before Hawk got hurt, he was on his way to being the tight end 1 in Dynasty. So yeah, I still would take Hawk over Pitts too. But let us know in the comment section. You guys have been quiet tonight. We know that this is the most important thing on TV right now. So make sure you guys join us. Jump in the comment section. Let us know your thoughts, because we know that this is must-see TV on a special night like this. All right, moving on. What was the next one? What is DJ Moore's current value? This is pretty close. I guess I would have to look back on what week it was for me to tell you how optimistic I was about DJ Moore and how much accountability I have to take on this. I'll go back in the archives and take a look. Do you guys recall a little clearer than I do about my thoughts on DJ Moore?
I'm pretty sure you, sweet baby, loved him.
I'm pretty sure I sweet baby loved him too. Yeah. So I'm not positive. I don't know how much I did. Yeah, I don't know if I really went all in, or I was like Roma Dunze, because once I got to the point where I was like, Roma Dunze could be like the wide receiver 2, almost 1. I was like, all right, let's pull it back. Let's pull back the reins. But I know that there was definitely takes of me pushing DJ Moore back to the moon.
I feel like I was pretty bullish on DJ Moore heading into the season. Obviously, things are starting to turn around there. I think we all expected Caleb, with what we saw in the preseason, for him to kind of hit the ground running a little bit more than he did. Now he's kind of starting to get into form a little bit. So, yeah, I still count this as a miss for me, though. It's just I thought he was just locked and loaded with where his value was. I really did.
Yeah, I think I can recall what I was saying now. I think I said something along the lines of he finished as wide receiver 6 with Justin Fields, and now he has Caleb Williams. So who knows what he could be? That sounds like something I would say. So I think let's circle back to that and say, wow, was that wrong? But accountability, 3rd time tonight, 4th time tonight with the ETN take. But we're racking it up. I think we can get to 10 by the end of tonight. We could have as much as a state in Electoral College. We could have 10 accountability marks on my part tonight. So let's look at his value. Anything you want to add about what you feel on DJ Moore currently, Joel, right now?
No, I think long term the question is going to be that coaching staff is not going to be around for very long. So who's his long term offensive coordinator? Because it's Shane Waldron's a joke. That Eberflus is not going to make it through the year. So
no.
What is long term? What does that coaching staff look like?
Which that is something I will take the whole lap on, because I'm like, Shane Waldron's not the answer. If they fire Eberflus, is going to point the finger at Waldron and say, you're fired first, get out, because he's going to try to hold on to his job the rest of the year, and he'll end up getting fired at the end of the year too. But it could just be Eberflus and they just get everyone out of there too. So I'm open-minded about it, but there's definitely going to be some firing.
That's going to be a house cleaning if that happens. Yeah.
I saw a report. I don't know how realistic this is, so don't take me on my word, but I saw a report that Ben Johnson was really considering Chicago, and that surprises me, because I'm like, why would they want to go to that culture? I mean, obviously Caleb Williams is intriguing, but that just seems like a place to go die if you're a coach.
I think you look at what Harbaugh did with the Chargers, and you think it's all about having that quarterback in place. So
that's not bad.
Yeah, I think coaches have enough ego to think that they can go in there and fix the culture if they have the quarterback.
That's a good take.
Well, they got the quarterback, they got other pieces on the offense, and then you got a solid defense. So it's like, coach can go in thinking, it's not going to take much of a push to get this team into the playoffs and, take that next step.
You've also got you got a great fan base. You've got history. It's not going to be looked at as a bad job.
It's the most competitive division in football.
Okay.
Would you rather have the Bears job, or would you rather have the Jacksonville job? I would rather have the Bears job in a heartbeat.
Bears,
so
for sure.
Yeah, you got a point. Let's look at my stomach is rumbling. If you guys hear that, I apologize. That is loud. I need to get something to eat after this. I've been sitting around looking at all the polls all day. Moore's current value, Dynasty Nerds, wide receiver 22, and he is the current wide receiver 28 on the season, and very close. Only six positions off. But if we're going to talk about the process by elimination that boosts up players, we got to talk about players that haven't lived up to expectations in with that process of elimination as well with DJ Moore. So we're looking almost at like wide receiver 32, a little lower than that for DJ Moore and what he really has produced. So this has been a bad year for DJ Moore. I really got to take a lot of accountability on this one for sure, because you knew that there was going to be dysfunction, and I overthought it. I really did. I thought that his talent, he was going to shine through. Keenan Allen was going to. He wasn't going to be washed. I just thought that he wasn't going to be a focal point in the offense enough because it's Shane Waldron's offense. But I really thought that he was going to be like click right off the bat with Caleb Williams, and I couldn't have been more wrong. Even week 1, when Keenan Allen like outsnapped everyone, out-targeted everyone, I was like, panic meter off the charts. So, anything to add?
No.
Let's look at the 5 wide receivers around Moore currently on Dynasty Nerds. Just take a look. DK Metcalf at wide receiver 20, T. Higgins at wide receiver 21, DJ Moore at wide receiver 22, Jose Flowers at wide receiver 23, and Ladd McConkey at wide receiver 24. Long-term Dynasty, what's the name that sticks out the most out of this group?
Metcalf is obvious. Yeah, he's the one I would obviously take out of this group.
Yeah, I think I would probably take all these guys over DJ Moore in this group.
Yeah, I think that's where we've come to. And
Higgins is the question for me, just because
for you,
Higgins, I think Higgins has zero trade value in Dynasty, so that he just has zero Dynasty value. So that to anyone. Go try and trade T. Higgins right now and see what you get for him.
I don't have any shares. I don't.
Okay, well,
I'll get some.
My point is, are you trading for him?
I will be.
All right.
I'm a very busy man, Joel. Okay.
So Higgins is 5th out of the 5 in this group. Moore would probably be 4th.
That feels right. Okay, it's a coin flip between Higgins and Moore. I think we can agree to that. If the chat has any disagreements, go and let us know, and we will we'll bring it back up. Next one. What is and he went down right around this time as well. What is Tua Tagovailoa's current value? We're finally getting Tua back after the injury. Let's look at his current value. I think that's probably the best way to do it. Dynasty Nerds QB 17, and he is obviously, after missing time, the QB 32 on the season. So it's hard to get a good grip on how he's doing season long with missing that time. But Dynasty wise, how are you feeling? Are you feeling just as squeamish as you were back then?
I was super high on Tua, and that looks really bad right now.
Like injury wise, are you super worried dynasty wise about Tua? Before we even go back on if we were optimistic about Tua this season, just the dynasty lens, are you really concerned?
I'm concerned because the market is concerned, and he really has no trade value, similar to Higgins. So yeah, I'm concerned that he's an immovable asset.
There's no way you're going to get the value you should for a quarterback right now, especially in a super flex league and a starting one at that, just because of these concussion issues. And I have zero faith in him as well. I hope the guy the best, and I hope this last concussion was the last one we see, kind of like with Brandon Cooks years ago, where he had that kind of run of concussions, and we all thought, okay, this is the end. And he's been fine since then and had a great career, so hopefully this is a similar situation. But God, I don't know. It's very, very nervous about it. And I agree with Joel that there's just no way you can get any sort of respectable value for him in a trade.
If someone offered you a 201 for him, would you do it?
Would I give up Tua for the 201?
Either or. Like
Probably,
where are you with this dynasty value? If you know you can't get a first, would you do a 201?
I would take a 201, sure.
If I could get him for the 201, yeah, I think I would do that. But would I give him up for that? I don't know if I could give him up for that.
Yeah. See, that's where I know that there's some value there. Like everyone's just so worried about another injury, and I get it. You know, I was the person that when he went down, I was saying Shedeur Sanders, that's probably the hot landing spot. I'm not necessarily out on that yet, but Tua is someone that he's so resilient that every time you doubt him, he shows you why you shouldn't doubt him. So I don't want to doubt him. I don't want to doubt him. I get why you don't want to give up a first for him, but that's where like if I can get him for a 2-0, if I can get him for a 201, yeah, I'm gonna get some shares of Tua in a heartbeat.
Here's the problem though. He's a roster building problem, and especially in Superflex, because you have to invest in a third quarterback. You can't. So you have to spend an asset on a third quarterback. You can't have him as your second quarterback and expect to get through the season. So you have to take an asset that you would like to invest at and upgrade at a different position and spend that asset on another quarterback and just another startable quarterback, not just a Daniel Jones type. It has to be like a Baker Mayfield, like a Kirk Cousins type. It has to be someone who can start in and put up production for you. So he's a roster building problem.
So let's look at the 5 quarterbacks around him just to see if you are for sure giving up a first for all these guys and not for Tua. Drake May, QB 15, Baker Mayfield, QB 16, Tua Tagovailoa, QB 17, Trevor Lawrence, QB 18. We'll be talking about him in a little while. JJ McCarthy at QB 19. So even with JJ McCarthy hurt, would you rather have JJ McCarthy over Tua?
Yes.
Yeah, I was there, but I'm also a sicko. So, Dustin, what about you?
Sorry, Gator distracted me in the chat there. He said, did I show you how to shut Hoov up?
Would you take JJ McCarthy over Tua right now?
I think I would, yeah.
Yeah. See, and that's crazy that his dynasty value has fallen so far. Because like a 107 for Tua last year, I don't know. I feel like that's probably what his value was. And the fact that he's dropped off that far just from another injury, like it's crazy. But I get it. I understand why the value is the way that it is right now.
But the tough thing is, you see how this offense moves when he's on the field, So I mean, maybe that doesn't turn into fantasy value for Tua himself, but the rest of these players on that team, they all get a boost when he's playing. So
can I ask a real question? If it's dumb, it's probably gonna sound dumb. I'll be real. But what's like the real possibility, or when do you think that there's a possibility that Tua gets traded? Like, if he got traded,
can't happen.
When?
Say with that contract he just signed.
When? I understand it's not likely now, but when?
It's not possible now.
So you think that he's gonna write it out, or they're gonna have to cut him?
Look at his contract. If he's traded like this year or next, you're gonna escalate like $100 million onto your cap. It can't happen. It's physically impossible for that to work. So it's the same thing with, like, people talk about these Justin Herbert trades all the time. Shut up. It's impossible. It cannot work from a cap perspective. Shut up. Stop talking about it. It's the same thing with Tua. He cannot be traded. It doesn't work from a cap. You cannot take that. You cannot subtract that much cap to make it happen. It's not possible. So stop.
I only asked the question.
It's going to be at least, I'm just saying, it's going to be at least 3 years till it's reasonable for him to be traded.
I pulled up Spotrac, and he's got a dead cap hit this year of 93 million. Next year's 83, and then it drops to 45.2 in 2026. And with the way the cap's been rising, or expected to rise over those years, as Joel said, maybe after that third year, 2026 might be palatable, but yeah, it's not anytime soon.
I only asked the question because if if they're this bad the rest of the season, they just can't turn it around, and they end up in quarterback contention in the draft, and they could get Shedeur Sanders. Not saying they do, but they could. And they wanted to bring in a franchise quarterback and do what the Falcons did and bring in a quarterback for the future and let him sit under Tua in case, like, unlikely situation. But like, if Mike McDaniel gets fired, and that's a likelihood, I'm really worried about Tua in another offense, like with another head coach. So that's where my mind goes. I'm like, okay, if they blow things up and they just stink and draft a quarterback, when's this timeline on when they can actually move off of Tua? Because there's teams like the Raiders that need a quarterback, and not likely.
I was going to say,
do it
maybe
now, but
I'm sure they could convince the Browns to take him. They don't seem to have a problem wasting money.
But all right.
I mean, it's basically the exact same scenario as Atlanta. Is you're bringing a guy in on a rookie contract, even though you have a guy eating up a veteran contract, but he's probably just going to be the better player within a year or so. Or you just can't trust the guy you have, so you just have to do what you have to do.
0 to 100. What's the likelihood that they do that? They draft Shedeur with Tua and do a Michael Penix, Kirk Cousins.
That they draft a quarterback? I'd say it's pretty high. I'd say it's probably.
I think they have to.
Give me a number.
55%.
Okay, 55%. 55%.
I think it's better than a coin flip that they do.
All right, slightly, very slightly. Let's look at another player. More accountability. I am looking terrible right now, but I promise you, like, we're gonna get to a point where I'm riding high, baby. But right now, it's not looking good. What is Rachaad White's current value? I wish Dustin was here, man. I really do. I wish Dustin was here. Dustin was here, and he joined us for this episode when we talked about Rachaad White. And it's quite a spicy take. It's quite a spicy take. But
I'll take accountability on this one as well. I was pretty high on White going into the season, and that has not worked out well.
Joel, where were you? Where were you on the White Bucky Irving debate preseason?
I honestly didn't really like either one. So, and yeah, I think Irving's gotten more run than I expected, but yeah, Rachaad White didn't have much dynasty value before the season started, and he still doesn't now. So nothing's really changed. The market was correct on him. So
yeah, let's look at his current value right now. Dynasty Nerds RB33, and he is the RB22 on the season right now. So back end startable as your RB2. Do you like that? Is he more of a flex option for you? Is he RB2? Like, where can you roster Rachaad White right now and feel good about it besides the bench?
I think he's a fine flex play bye-week fill-in. I've got him on one of my redraft squads this year, and that's all I'm using him as right now. I started the year, he was in my starting lineup, but then after the first couple weeks, I just haven't had the confidence to keep him in there. And he's kind of that break glass in case of emergency type player for me right now. And for Dynasty, I just no value moving forward, or I shouldn't say none, but not what I expected going into the season. Let's put it that way.
He was around the Ramondre Stevenson tier this last draft season. And so, like, I thought between those two, it was a dime a piece, take a shot, like, around that tier, and don't capitalize way too heavy. Maybe pick a guy in this tier, and it's not a bad one, but it's not great either. So don't love having Rachaad White, or at least as many shares as I had. I screwed myself by having Rachaad White this season massively in a dynasty startup, and I went super heavy on wide receivers, and I only drafted like 4 running backs, and one was Rachaad White, one was Ray Davis, one was James Conner, and couldn't even tell you the fourth one off the top of my head. So that's how screwed I am right now. James Conner's been holding it down as my RB1, but Rachaad White, not so much, not living it up. And even then, Ray Davis has been very nice to stream on those few weeks that he's been relevant. So let's look at the RBs around White, speed things up a little bit. Tank Bigsby, RB 31, Tyjae Spears, RB 32, Rachaad White, RB 33, James Conner, RB 34, and Nick Chubb at RB 35. Where are you at with Rachaad White? Are you taking any of these guys? Who stands out? Probably Tank Bigsby. Other than that, out of the four.
Oh, it's just the gross group altogether.
Yeah. I mean, Tyjae Spears has no value. Chubb doesn't have much value. Chubb might get some value back at the back end of the season, but I mean, the problem with Rachaad White is we talked about all the receivers getting hurt is that none of the running backs have gotten hurt. So he was a guy who could have done that JSN thing and kind of slid himself up to, RB10, RB12 if he had stayed healthy. But, and the running backs had gotten hurt like they normally do, but this has been a backwards year. So
he just, I'd say, which is exactly what happened last year.
Yeah, but he hasn't had that opportunity because all the good running backs have stayed healthy. So he's still just an unusable back end guys.
Yeah, this isn't a great tier. This is kind of nasty. I don't even want to put too much time onto this because our viewers are going to drop off if we spend too much time on this tier. So let's move it on. Let's move on to something a little more exciting. Let's take it down to Los Angeles. What is Justin Herbert's current value? Let's pop right into it. Herbert's value, Dynasty Nerds QB 11, and he is currently the QB 22 on the season. Kind of what we thought. For Justin Herbert, this is going to be a very run-focused offense. Where are you with things with Justin Herbert?
I think it's rising pretty quickly because since the bye, they've actually been very pass happy. So I think his value is spiking right now.
I was surprised to see him at QB 11 on Dynasty Nerds. I thought that's a massive jump on where we were seeing him. I thought we were seeing him more like QB 16, 17, kind of that Trevor Lawrence tier going into this year. So he's definitely like outproducing from what we thought the Harbaugh offense was going to be. I'll take some accountability on that. But he is Justin Herbert. Like, you knew that the talent was going to shine through regardless of what the offense was. I just didn't know how valuable that was going to be for the rest of the wide receivers, whether that was going to be them just splitting it up, the limited targets that they would have in a run-focused offense. But Justin Herbert, he's been turning things around, and he's making his way back into the outside of the top 10. So I like Justin Herbert right now. It's a dynasty asset. Especially if you were smart. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, probably this is going to kind of dovetail with what you were saying, but I think if now is the time if you really want to trade for him and you believe in him, now would be the time before people catch on that how well he's been playing these last few weeks and try to get a dip in his value, because I think here, especially by the end of the season, that any type of value you could get is going to be gone. Like, he's going to continue to rise, I think, and people are going to become aware that he's playing up to his ability and actually has fantasy value in this Harbaugh offense.
Yeah, we're pretty lockstep right now. Like, imagine all the people right now that they got Justin Herbert in a first rounder for like Anthony Richardson in the offseason, and how good those managers are feeling by taking the dip on Herbert, and now Richardson might not even start the rest of the season. So let's look at the 5 quarterbacks around Herbert. Take a look. Caleb Williams, QB9, Kyler Murray, QB10, Justin Herbert, QB11, Brock Purdy, QB12, Jared Goff, QB13. Now looking at the rest of this group, it looks like Herbert is hands down probably the least fantasy valuable out of this group. I have Caleb Williams a lot higher in Dynasty. I have him as a top 3 Dynasty asset, so this feels really low compared to my rankings. But Jared Goff's playing like an MVP candidate right now. We know what Brock Purdy can do. Am I alone in that thought?
I think this is in contrast to the Rachaad White tier. This is a really good tier.
Absolutely. That's why we speed things up for our viewers. We got you. But
yeah, I don't disagree with what you said, other than maybe the Caleb Williams, dynasty quarterback 3 or whatever you said. But as far as tier goes, I agree. I think he'd be at the back end of this tier, but it's a good tier.
Absolutely. But we can't spend all of our time on all the good tiers because we got even better tiers coming up right after this. Before we do that, we should probably let you all know about our fabulous, fabulous partners over at Dynasty Nerds. So do you want to take your Dynasty leagues to the next level? Do you want to you guys get it. You guys get the whole promo. We will speed things up because we know that you guys are here on limited time tonight, but you guys get the gist. Go ahead. Go to dynastynerds.com. Make sure you guys pull out a subscription and enter the code Club Fantasy. That's what I do for you guys. We speed things up. Get to all the important stuff. So, an important player, Devonta Smith. What is his current value right now? How are we feeling about Devonta Smith midseason?
Exactly the same as we did in preseason. He's the exact same player we thought.
Yep. Yeah. My thoughts have not changed at all on him.
Value right now, Dynasty Nerds, wide receiver 12, wide receiver 17 on the season. Now, that's something that if you had this kind of expectation coming into the year, I don't know if I was necessarily like here. Scratch that. Let me rephrase. When you have this process by elimination boost, he's probably where I had him. Just right outside like all the wide receiver ones. He's probably like the best wide receiver 2 in the league. And so this is kind of the expectation of what you're getting. I thought that he probably could have shined a little bit more, but AJ Brown was probably going to be the focal point in this whole offense. Like I said this a lot preseason, it's Wonder Boy's offense, and it primarily goes through one receiver. So AJ Brown was probably going to be, he could have finished as the wide receiver 1 at the end of the year if he would have stayed healthy. So I can't knock Devonta Smith at this value, but he also definitely is outperforming what I thought at this point. So can't hate the value of Devonta Smith right now.
He's wide receiver 17 despite missing 2 games.
Right. And that's kind of crazy to think about. Let's look at the players around him right now.
But one other thing too is AJ Brown's, missed a handful of games too. So I would have actually expected him to be a little bit higher just with that offense and with AJ Brown being out. So,
but I mean, they missed games at the same time.
There's that too.
Exactly. So let's look at the players around him. Drake London, wide receiver 10, Puka Nacua, wide receiver 11, Devonta Smith, wide receiver 12, Jaden Reed, wide receiver 13, and Roma Dunze at wide receiver 14. So, what's the name that stands out? Are you taking Devonta Smith over any of these guys long term, actually?
I would still take him over Jaden Reed.
Really?
Yeah.
That's actually that's pretty surprising in my opinion.
It's close. I mean, it's
very close.
These guys are all coin flips. I like them all. Yeah, this is still a good tier.
That's a take that I thought I would say. Like, I'm just not expecting it coming from you. I thought you'd be the person that's more optimistic about Jaden Reed, in my opinion. But
I like Jaden Reed, but yeah, this is a good tier. This is a good group.
Yeah, it's like Jaden Reed's the best boom bust player. Devonta Smith's like the best wide receiver 2. And like, I think I'd have the wide receiver 2 right up. It's like Smith, Waddle, Reed right there. Like Reed's right underneath Waddle. So yeah, I'm there with you guys on this tier. Seems like Reed's lowest out of that. But we got plenty more. We only went through half of them so far, and we are almost an hour in. So the second half, we're going to burn through these. We're going to move on a little quicker through them all, but I promise we're going to get through them all tonight. Next one, what is Tony Pollard's current value? How you guys feeling about Tony Pollard?
The same I was preseason or going into the season.
Pretty much, yeah.
And how are you feeling preseason?
Good, not great.
Yeah.
We really like to break it
excited
down for
about
all
him.
the viewers out there. Yeah, we really know how to really break it down for all you guys. Let's look at the current value for Pollard. Dynasty Nerds, RB26, and he is the RB19 on the season. So Dustin, when he was on the show, a little bit of a hot take. He had Tony Pollard finishing as a top 15 wide running back. I thought he said, was it 15?
I thought he said top 5.
I don't think it was 5. That I would have started
aggressive.
bullets.
He was
aggressive, dude.
It was a very hot take. It was a very hot take. I thought
it was 12. I think it's 12.
No, I think it was top 5. He was very aggressive on him.
Well, we're gonna go back. We're gonna go back and check the tapes, and I'll even shoot Dustin a message after this episode's over because I want to know. I want to know how high he was, but he definitely was looking a lot better the start of the season. Now the Titans have looked like a dumpster fire, and with Mason Rudolph in there, this is a hard team to get behind. So kind of what I thought. The next player is the person that I'm going to have to take a lot more accountability on, but I don't have much to say about Tony Pollard. I wasn't in on him. If we were taking accountability a few weeks ago, I probably would have had more to say, but things are shaping out kind of where I thought.
Yeah, I mean, he's like you said, that this team's a dumpster fire this year, so he's not a great asset for this year, and he's 27, so it's not like he's a build-around asset either. So
right
in Dynasty, he's not. He's kind of in no man's land.
That's the victory lap I'll take. Is like he's definitely like the guy, and I can't because I was a Ty Spears guy, so I got to give Pollard the credit and say he definitely held the roll down. So I was wrong on that one, but I was right in the sense that I'm like Ty Spears. I didn't have any like long-term fantasy value for him, and I didn't for Tony Pollard. I thought that both of them could have gotten replaced in the 2025 class like that, and so with the contract, they easily could, and so that's where I'll take the victory lap, is that I kind of didn't see Tony Pollard holding on to fantasy value long-term in Tennessee, but he's not very, very high. Let's look at the players around him. Tyrone Tracy, RB24, Trey Benson, RB25, Tony Pollard, RB6, Aaron Jones, RB27, and Bucky Irving, RB28. Gross tier. Let's keep it under a minute for our viewers out there, for their eyes and ears. Where are we feeling out of this tier? Where does Tony Pollard rank?
Why is Trey Benson in this tier?
Should be lower.
Yeah. Tracy ahead of him, Aaron Jones ahead of him, Bucky Irving. I'd rather have Pollard, but yeah, I would take Tracy and Aaron Jones ahead of him.
It's got to be the age. It's got to be the age boosting Benson up, in my opinion. But Tracy's the guy. And even then, like, I get it. I like Tyrone Tracy this year, and I will be smart and tell you to start him when I think you should start him. But I don't know if I'm sold in the sense like this is going to be the guy, the running back of the future for New York. So I'm not there yet. Maybe I could become more of a Tyrone Tracy believer by the end of the season, though. We'll see. But he's probably the guy I'd still have out of this whole tier. Bucky Irving's close. Nah, I would say he's close. I'd say Bucky Irving is 2, dynasty-wise.
It's close, yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's look at the guy I gotta take a little more accountability on. What is Ty Spears' current value? Ty Spears' current value, Dynasty Nerds, RB32, and he is RB59 on this season.
Yeah, this was a whiff.
Oh,
this was a whiff.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry to all the viewers out there. That was terrible on my part. I thought I knew. I don't know nothing. You think, therefore you know. I always say that. You think, therefore you know. I think that I'm here on the show talking to all you guys, when in reality, I could be in La La Land, and this could all be in my head, and I have no idea. So, I think, therefore I know. I thought I knew everything about Ty Spears. Boy, was I wrong. So now I know. Anything else to add on Ty Spears? Not much to say. Really not much to say. 5 RBs, Jalen Wright, you're taking over. Tank Bigsby, you're taking over. Rashad White, you're taking over. James Conner, you're taking over. So I wanted you to say it. I held back because I wanted you to say it. I know that, but let's look at another guy. Ramondre Stevenson, current value. Where were you guys at on the preseason on Ramondre? I know that I was more in on him, but not like extremely optimistic.
Yeah, I was pretty ambivalent, I think, but honestly, I don't remember.
I was kind of, I was a little out on him. I thought he was being overdrafted or overvalued as we're coming into the season, but he's changed my mind a little bit.
If you saw my shares of him, you'd think I'm like super optimistic, and I definitely didn't think Antonio Gibson was gonna be anything. So maybe I was more bullish on Stevenson in that sense, but not a great season so far from Ramondre. RB 23 on the season, or sorry, RB 23 on Dynasty Nerds, RB 21 on the season currently. So back end RB2, probably in the same tier as like Rachaad White, that he's more of like your flex option if you can have him, or RB2 in these certain situations if you need him. Am I correct in that?
I think he's a clear RB2, so I'd have him pretty easily ahead of Rachaad White, who I think is clearly a flex at best.
I mean, he was what was White, 24, 23, 24,
25, something like that.
So it's like it's back end, back end RB2. He's put up better weeks and he's put up some duds. So not the greatest dynasty asset. I'd probably start shipping Ramondre Stevenson. Maybe this offseason
I think his value's going up a little bit just because Drake May's doing so well. So this offense looks functional in a future setting.
But and that's where I agree. He just got the contract. They got the quarterback. The wide receivers aren't showing out, and there's so many question marks in that. So he's probably like the only answer that they have, but they already were looking for the second option with Gibson. Everyone that's a fan of Gibson or followed Gibson knows that probably wasn't gonna like take over or be anything. Like he's around, but he's not like wowing people like I'm sure that franchise was expecting him to. So 2025, that's the same thing as like Tennessee that I'm looking at New England. Like they're going to be drafting an RB2 to bring in. Jared Mayo, I don't know. I'm hearing some skepticism out of New England about Jared Mayo, and I hope he's there next year. I do, but that's the same thing. Like if he's there, I wouldn't count it out at all. Like that's totally a Bill Belichick regime type thing of having multiple running backs in there, and that's the same reason why people were worried about Stevenson in the first place when he finished at RB9 a few seasons ago, is because he was competing in a New England backfield. So maybe it's like the snake eating its own tail. Maybe that's just how he's going to end up. He's just going to end up back in the New England backfield like that, where you never really know. So I'm not super big on Stevenson long term at all. Okay, let's look at the five running backs around Stevenson. J.K. Dobbins, RB21, Brian Robinson, RB22, Tyrone Tracy, RB24, and Trey Benson, RB25. Let's just scratch Trey Benson. Let's just take him off those lists. He's irrelevant right now. Would you really take J.K. Dobbins with the injury history over Ramondre right now? No? Okay,
no.
Good. That's where I thought. I'm glad I wasn't alone in that. Brian Robinson's a dog. Tyrone Tracy's a dog. Definitely those two. Agreed?
I would take Ramondre over Robinson, but I would take Tracy ahead of him.
Wait, you take Ramondre over Robinson?
Yeah.
Really? Humor me. I'm curious. So we've talked about Brian Robinson as like a David Montgomery style player for the future. Like he could be in Washington, and if they draft a running back next year, he's still going to be a thorn in their side. Or if he goes somewhere else, he could still be a thorn in their side. I don't see that with Ramondre. So like, where are you at?
I don't think Robinson's a great fit with Jaden Daniels. So I much prefer Stevenson with Drake May in that offense with the contract. So yeah, it obviously Washington's a better offense. I think Ramondre's got a better fit in his offense than Robinson does.
Okay. All right. I'm not gonna. I could argue with you, but we don't have the time. We don't have the time. But this just the only thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna write. We're doing a Brian Robinson episode the next few weeks. So you guys didn't recommend it, but we're gonna do a Brian Robinson episode. We have to at this point. It makes too much sense. Ooh, we're cooking. What is the next one? Mark Andrews, current value. Dynasty Nerds, tight end 9, and he is the tight end 11 on the season. Just based off of the grunt, I can imagine how this is going. Where are you guys at?
Yeah, we did this episode right after the opening day when Isaiah Likely went nuts, and I know I was saying, hold on to Andrews. He's fine. He's going to be just fine. Everything's going to be fine. It hasn't been fine. Even when he's been involved in the offense, it's been 4 or 5 targets. So yeah, he's not back. He is not the focal point of the offense anymore. So yeah, that's a problem.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
And we're worried about Likely too. So we'll get to that. But this is actually, if you go back, I'm pretty sure I said tight end 9. That's where I dropped him right after that game. I was like, he's not. I'm not going to take him over even Pitts or I think I said Njoku at 8. I can't remember who I said at 8, but I think I said 9 comfortably, and you kind of could see him falling out of the top 10. So I was kind of there after this week. So maybe this is a victory lap, but can't confirm it. So it's more of a sprint. Let's call it a sprint. All right. Let's look at the players around him. 5 tight ends. George Kittle, tight end 7. Tucker Kraft, tight end 8. David Njoku, tight end 10. And Jake Ferguson, tight end 11. Are we taking all these guys comfortably over Mark Andrews right now?
No, I think Andrews is fine, right stuck in the middle there for me.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Even with okay, I understand.
You could argue Njoku. I would much rather have Andrews than Ferguson.
Mm-hmm.
Not close.
I
Ferguson
would rather have Njoku over Andrews. I definitely.
Yeah, that's fine. I think that's a coin flip, either one. But yeah, I would probably take Njoku if push came to shove. But yeah, Ferguson doesn't belong on this list.
And I'm skeptical because I really want to say Ferguson over Andrews too, just because of the age, and there's more of a likelihood that Ferguson becomes more a part of this. I mean, the Cowboys traded for Jonathan Mingo. Like, they're obviously looking for someone to step up in that offense. So I could see Jake. I think I'd still take Jake.
They're going to play with Cooper Rush for the next month.
And that's where it's a dynasty. I'm not saying, oh yeah, Jake Ferguson's going to win you the rest of the year. But
they're going to revamp that offense in the offseason. So if they get another elite receiver, now that just pushes him down in the pecking. And they get a running back, they get a receiver that pushes him down in the pecking order even farther.
Then what's the difference between Tucker Kraft and Jake Ferguson then?
He's a much better player.
I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to debate
baby Kittle.
But I'm not going to debate you on that. But the only thing I'm going to say is that what you just explained is exactly what the Packers did.
Yeah, but they have a better offense they have more points to spread around. The Dallas offense isn't good. He's going to be lower in the pecking order and a worse offense.
Under McCarthy.
Under Belichick?
Let's say hypothetically Ben Johnson takes Dallas. You like Jake Ferguson then?
I just don't think he's a special player. And this is coming from a Badger fan. He's not a special player.
We differ in opinion. We can definitely differ in opinion.
That's
this
fine.
is one of those platforms. We accept that around here. Let's look at the player underneath him. Dustin, do you have anything more to add before we move on from Mark Andrews?
No.
All right, let's look at his backup.
Nope.
Isaiah Likely, bullish after week 1. Tight end 16 in Dynasty Nerds and tight end 15 on the season. You wouldn't have thought that this is where things would have ended up with Likely. Wasn't likely. All right.
No.
That's it. Cut it out. All right. So where are we at with Likely dynasty-wise? Let's look at the players around him. Maybe take a look. Cole Kmet, tight end 14. Cade Otton, tight end 15, Dallas Goedert at tight end 17, and Pat Freiermuth at tight end 18. Is it Goddard or Goddard? Goddard. Okay, I was right. Where are we at with Isaiah Likely over all these guys? Probably at back end.
This is pretty gross.
I think he's fine. I mean, I think Goddard would be the last out of them and likely fourth in the list. I'd move up Freiermuth, middle of the pack.
Okay.
But I mean, it's all just coin flips at that point anyway. It's not like there's a huge difference between any of them for me.
I was going to say, you could put these guys in any order you want, and I'm like, all right, fine, whatever.
I'm not going to debate you because we just lost three watchers, 3 viewers out there when I pop this up. So no more time on this tier. We get it. It's gross. You don't want to spend time. You don't want to listen to it. But I got something real nice, something special for you. What is Puka Nakua's current value? Now he's back. We were worried. We broke it down once. I don't want to say once he broke it down because that's a little messed up. But once he went down, that's probably the better way to put it. We were really worried about Puka Nacua. Were we though? Because we knew that he was going to be just fine. Definitely a big difference on the value between Dynasty Nerds and his total this season. Wide receiver 11 on Dynasty Nerds, wide receiver 105 on the season after missing all that time. Based off of what you're seeing here, you can assume that not a great value, but you kind of know Puka Nacua is a dog, and since he's been back, I'm not worried one bit. Are you guys worried about Puka the rest of the year?
I'm worried about him punching you guys in the head.
I was gonna say, as long as he's not punching guys, yeah, I have no worries.
Yeah, I can't believe that happened. There's been so many times that we've been burnt with someone like Michael Thomas or Mike Evans. Just start the game with violence, and fantasy managers pay the most for it. So let's look at the players around him, see where we're at. AJ Brown, wide receiver 9, Drake London, wide receiver 10, Devonta Smith, wide receiver 12, and Jaden Reed at wide receiver 13. Where are we at with Puka? Are we taking him over all these guys?
Maybe not make the argument for me.
Yeah, I was going to say you can make the argument for AJ Brown, just that AJ Brown is breaking down, but yeah, I think that's probably pretty close.
That's where I'm at. I can agree to that. Puka Nacua is probably, you got to move him over AJ Brown just with age and dynasty factor. No shade to AJ Brown. We love AJ Brown on this platform. Josh, please don't take us off the air. I appreciate it. You gave a lot of love to Devonta Smith earlier, man. Don't take us off now. But he's not gonna like us because we're gonna talk about the best team in the NFC East this season. What is Terry McLaurin's current value? Terry McLaurin, everybody. If you guys are smart people, and I know all you guys out there are very smart people, that means you guys read Club Fantasy's ongoing series this offseason, and you guys checked out our breakdown of all the teams. And I can recall one of the people here, Renee, she wrote about Terry McLaurin this season, and as someone that's on record, big on DJ Moore, she said, who's to say that Terry McLaurin can't be this season's DJ Moore? And I stood up when I read it and I clapped because I'm like, yes, absolutely. Terry McLaurin easily could have been the DJ Moore of this season, finally breaking out and being a top 10 wide receiver. I wish I could take a lap, but I can't because I have to give all the credit to Renee. She wrote it perfectly. She wrote it great. And I really hope that you guys all went out there and read that article from her because she does a great job. So no victory lap from me. I'm just going to shout out Renee with that one. Where are you guys at with Terry?
I got to take full accountability on this one. I was saying sell him in that he was older than people think and has never been that good. He's been that good this year. So yeah, I was dead ass wrong.
Yeah, who knew all he needed was a good quarterback to unlock him to his full potential.
Are we ready? Wide receiver 32 on Dynasty Nerds. Wide receiver 8 on the season. If that's not this year's DJ Moore, I don't know what is. Yep. That has to be. So shout out to Renee. so good. Let's look at the players around him right now, see where we're at. Michael Pittman, wide receiver 30, Tank Dell, wide receiver 31, Jamison Williams, wide receiver 33, and Jordan Addison, wide receiver 34. So with the resurgence that he has, are we taking Terry confidently over all these guys, even with the youth of Jordan Addison? Maybe even Tank Dell?
I would probably take Dell over him, but that'd be about it on this list.
Yeah, Dell definitely, maybe Addison, just because I think he's finally starting to get healthy after that ankle injury. So I could see him rising a little bit here. But yeah, those are the only two.
You're reading my mind.
And Addison would be a coin flip.
Yeah, those two are like, you could talk me into it, but if I'm the person that's going to hype up Terry this long, why should I give up on him now? So I probably would just take Terry, try to win now, and ride it out with him. So that's probably the best advice that I would have on that one. Moving on, we got another quarterback, long hair, Trevor Lawrence. What is his current value? We got on Dynasty Nerds, he is QB 18 and QB 12 on the season. We wouldn't be expecting that based off of the time that we recorded. A lot of worry about Trevor Lawrence starting out the season, but now that Brian Thomas Jr. has fully erupted into an awesome player, I wish he wouldn't have given me shade at the draft. I really do. I love him. But where are we at with Trevor Lawrence? Are we back on?
Yeah.
That's not a lot of optimism out of you guys.
He's fine, but I'm not.
How is he QB 12? How is that possible? It doesn't make sense.
Let me look it up. I don't even
know. I'm not saying I don't believe you or think that's right. I just, you look at his game log and it's like, yeah, it's a good game here, good game here. Otherwise, it's just So if that's QB 12, then yeah, it's been a pretty gross quarterback year.
It's been nasty. It's been pretty nasty. But you also have to imagine Trevor Lawrence, Jags stink, a lot of catch-up games. So maybe that results in fantasy points as well. But, dynasty-wise, I don't know.
He did just have 2 rushing touchdowns last week, too. So that may be affecting some of it.
Bingo. Let's look at the players around him. Baker Mayfield, wide receiver 16, Tua, wide receiver 17, J.J. McCarthy, wide receiver 19, and Anthony Richardson. What a drop-off at wide receiver 20. Whew, that's crazy. Didn't think I was going to be seeing that this year. Wish we would have done an Anthony Richardson episode. I really do. Where are we at with Trevor Lawrence? What name stands out? I'm guessing it's Baker. We all probably would take Baker over him.
Mm-hmm.
Is Trevor Lawrence 2 on this list over JJ McCarthy, or are we at JJ?
I'd still take Richardson over him. I still believe, yeah.
Wow.
It's going to take time, but
I wasn't expecting that either. Oh, wow. Okay. Justin.
Yeah, Baker definitely top. I think Trevor would probably be second on this list for me. Although JJ would be close behind him.
Yeah. I'm lockstep with you, boo. I got you. All right. Let's move on. Let's move on to the next one. A little more excitement to all the viewers out there. What is Malik Neighbors' current value? Dog. That's his status right now. That's his value. Dog. Dynasty Nerds has him as the wide receiver 5, and he is the wide receiver 13 on the season. Are we surprised by that one? Wide receiver 13? I honestly thought he was.
He missed a couple games with a concussion. Quarterback play has been abysmal. Ever since Andrew Thomas went out, that line has been just awful. They can't throw the ball. So yeah, it's hurt his value for this year. But yeah, I think long term, I think he's still easily a top 5 asset, non-quarterback.
Yep.
It's really crazy. It's like being only 25. I've missed so many cool moments of NFL history and looking at the tapes, but I'm really privileged because I've gotten to see the first coming of DeAndre Hopkins and the second in Malik Neighbors in just my short time watching NFL. So Yeah, I feel pretty privileged. This is nice. He's quarterback proof. He is a dog. So I'm all in on Malik Neighbors. I don't know how much higher I can go. How high can you go? Let's look at the players around him. Let's see how high I can go. Jamar Chase, wide receiver 3. Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver 4. Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver 6. And Garrett Wilson at wide receiver 7. Where are we at with Malik Neighbors out of this list?
He belongs at the top with Chase.
You put him over Amon-Ra right now?
Easy, yes.
Bingo. You with him?
Yeah, I think it's fair.
Let's do it. All right, we're finally in agreement. Is that the first agreement of the night? Maybe once, twice, 3 times?
We all hated the Rachaad White tier.
Yeah. I definitely have more accountability than we have agreement tonight on takes. So good. I need to lower my ego just a little bit. So hopefully we can get like 1 or 2 more to like take it down a peg. All right. What is the next one? What is Jalen Waddle's current value? Dynasty. Yeah. This is going to be a long night. Wide receiver 17, Dynasty Nerds has him currently, and he is wide receiver 65 on the season. Now, you guys go, because I've said a lot tonight about a lot of things. Dustin?
It's ugly.
I think, yeah, it's rough. We've seen what he can do, but it's all been based on Tua being healthy. Yeah, we were talking about Tua earlier, and I'm not super confident with Tua's health, so I guess I can't be super confident about Waddle and his value. I mean, I think 17 is on the low end. I think he should be higher, but just based off of what we've seen and how he's produced without Tua, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
The problem for Waddle is Achane has come in and basically taken his role, and that's a real problem. And like you said, Mike McDaniel's probably not going to be back next year, so that's how does he fit in the offense, and what does the offense look like?
I didn't say that. I said there's a possibility. Don't be putting it out there. I'm the one manifesting that. I didn't manifest that. I'm saying it's a possibility that happens. Is it a strong possibility? I'm not going to be one to say it, but there's a possibility that it happens. I don't know. We'll see. You never know with Miami. You never know. But as someone that's been saying he's a top 10 wide receiver, that's just a quarterback, or Tyreek Hill being gone away from being a top 10 wide receiver confidently. This is a hard hill to climb up at wide receiver 65, even without a quarterback. But I'll stand on it. I'll stand on it still. You guys all know why I feel that way. I don't have to stand on it too hard. You guys get it. Let's look at the players around him. Rashee Rice at wide receiver 15, Brian Thomas Jr. wide receiver 16, Tyreek Hill wide receiver 18, and Chris Olave at wide receiver 19. I get why you'd want to take Brian Thomas Jr. over him. I probably would in most cases too, just based off of what we've seen in the age. But man, that's a nail biter for me. That's really close because I just love the talent that Jalen Waddle has. I get it's not a great take to say where he's at currently, but we know what Jalen Waddle is. Don't overthink it. Like, he's right there. Where are you at?
I would smash Brian Thomas Jr. ahead of Waddle.
Pause. All right. Where are you at with Rashee Rice before you say anything more about Brian Thomas Jr.?
I would take him ahead of Waddle too, yeah.
Really? Wow. Okay. Wow. Get my best Owen Wilson impression out tonight. Wow. That's crazy. Even with suspension.
Yeah.
Possible suspension, injury, like still over Waddle?
Yeah.
Okay. No.
I mean, what's Waddle doing for you right now?
Nothing.
He's not doing much more that he's killing you from within. So, what's the downside of having Rashee Rice instead? At least you're not tempted to put him in your lineup and take zeros.
You never know. You never know with me, honestly. Dustin, what about you?
I'm going to agree with Joel on this one, believe it or not. Yeah.
First time for everything, right?
Oh, we've agreed on lots of things. Don't you even start that.
So, all right. We're wrapping it up. We only have 2 more. We really knocked out all these tonight. We're an hour and 20 in. It's crazy. And we are wrapping on the last 2 weeks of the season that we have kicked off. So we don't have very much to say, but we appreciate you all sticking through the whole episode so far. We know that there is nothing else important going on right now, and you guys would rather be here. So thank you. Next one. What is Jameson Williams' current value? Now getting his suspension relieved after we talked about it when that happened. We kind of gave him a little bit of criticism, maybe a lot of criticism from the bottom of the screen over here. Not naming names or anything, just the bottom of the screen. Where are you guys at with Jameson Williams right now? Same thing?
No change.
Nothing's changed?
Yeah, nothing's changed.
No, some things never change. All right, wide receiver 33. I could go for a long time with Frozen, but let's move on. Wide receiver 33, Dynasty Nerds has him, and he is the wide receiver 55 on the season. Oh, that's so gross. Wide receiver 55.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that he is almost as low as Jalen Waddle is saying something. It's saying something. I don't want to say it because it's not going to help my Waddle case, but I'm thinking it. I'm definitely thinking it. So, any worry? Do you think that there's any possibility that he actually can have a resurgence either next year or the rest of the year?
I don't care. I don't want him on my roster.
I don't care. Amen, brother.
Yeah.
All right. Let's look at the players around him just to take a look, take a peek. Tank Dell, wide receiver 31. Terry McLaurin, wide receiver 32. Jordan Essen, wide receiver 34. And Cooper Kupp, wide receiver 35. Nope. Not happening. Agreed?
Doesn't belong in the team.
Agreed. Yep.
Agreed. And last but certainly not least, let's wrap things up because Dustin wasn't here last week. So I'm itching to know your thoughts on Jayden Reed. What is Jayden Reed's current value? Dynasty Nerds has him at wide receiver 13, and he is the wide receiver 10 on the season. Without you being here, let the viewers know how bullish or squeamish are you on Jayden Reed the rest of the year?
I love Jayden Reed. Obviously, you see the Packer flag hanging behind me, so I'm a big homer. I love him. I would love to see a little bit more consistency out of him on a week-to-week basis. But that week winning upside is there for him. Wide receiver 13, that seems a little bit rich for me, even though he's outproducing that at this point. That seems a little bit high, but it'd be interesting to see the guys that are going around him in this tier to really get a good feel if he's in the right tier or not.
Look, and I just wanted to say this to you because I know I said it last week too. This right now is screaming to me like I feel like I'm gonna do so many leagues next year, and I hate that because I already am in way too many as is now, and starting all these players, all these injuries is such a pain. But I just want to start a new league next year, knowing the value on Jayden Reed has moved up to wide receiver 13 with the process of elimination, and that all these top tier guys have dropped off. Understandably why, but he's still a boom bust player when you look at the identity of his profile or what he brings. And so like next year, we're going to get some crazy discounts on some players just because they're coming off an injury, or some boom bust players are going to be super high. Like I love Jayden Reed, probably not going to buy him next year. Love JSN, probably not going to buy him next year. I know that, but like when you start thinking at someone like, oh man, I'm trying to think of who's an aging talent, like a Stephon Diggs. Like, oh man, the value on Stephon Diggs next year, Mike Evans is going to be insane. Chris Godwin, insane. Rashee Rice, insane. So I'm buying these dips because the value is just going to be so messed up. That's like the only thing I really had to say other on Jayden Reed, just because like I'm not there You look at his stats between him and JSN, he's just JSN plus. So I'm not there. I'm really not there at wide receiver 13. I think I had him more at like wide receiver 17. Joel?
Yeah, my value hasn't changed since last week.
Yeah. I didn't know if you wanted to let him know what you were thinking. I didn't know if Dustin wanted to go back and rewatch, wanted to make sure that Gator wasn't taking his job. He's got job security or anything. So
not worried about that.
But we know. But we had a great show tonight. We kicked off all the players that we had covered so far this season. Almost an hour and a half. We went about a half an hour over just for all you guys. We wanted to make sure that we were taking all the accountability. And they call me Hoov because like a vacuum, I suck. So all the accountability is coming out of this corner of the screen tonight. But we had fun. And I'm excited to see who we bring up the rest of the year. I really am. Let's turn things around.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And, I would be remiss. I do think we should do our ad read here. Better late than never.
Absolutely.
And, of course, got to shout out all the wonderful shows under the Club Fantasy umbrella. So let's knock that out here before we end this extra long show. And then we can all move on with our evenings if we so choose. So, got to thank our partners over at Dynasty Nerds. So, do you want to take your Dynasty teams to a championship? Do you want to stack championships for years to come? Then you need to hear about Club Fantasy's newest partnership at Dynasty Nerds. They're one of the most trusted sources for both Dynasty advice and Dynasty tools. They have the Nerd Score, which helps identify rookies with high ceilings and longevity to keep you contention for years to come. And if what you're looking for is film on incoming rookies, look no further than their All-22 film room. They have a Dynasty trade calculator, can help you find values throughout the season, helps you better understand how to value players. And that's just a few of the tools that they offer. They have tons of stuff. So head over to dynastynerds.com, see for yourself, choose from one of their subscription plans. At checkout, enter code Club Fantasy. That's one word to save 15% off your subscription. Once again, go to dynastynerds.com, use promo code Club Fantasy to get 15% off. And on that note, make sure you're going and checking out all the shows under the Club Fantasy umbrella. On Tuesdays, we've got Wiretapped with Ryan and Josh, which is a waiver show. Tuesday night, you've got us, TradeBlocked. Wednesdays, you got no pun intended with Joel, Josh, and Ryan. Wednesday night, also, you have Cleat Dreams, which is a weekly preview of the Women of Fantasy Football podcast with Renee and Kelly. Thursday evenings, you got Captain, My Captain with Josh and Austin, which is a DFS showdown preview. Also on Thursdays, you got the Sneaky Flex with Wendy and the Sneaky Girls. It's a Women of Fantasy Football Start-Sit show. Also on Thursdays, you got the Dynasty After Party with Gator and Joel. Friday, you've got the DFS Academy with Ryan and Austin. And on Saturday, it's Start-Sit Different Day with Josh and Joe answering all your weekly Start-Sit questions. And on Monday, it's the Monday Hangxiety, which is a weekly recap show. So there's something every single day of the week for you. We got you covered here in Club Fantasy. But more importantly, we've got all your trade questions here covered on TradeBlocked. So for Joel, for Hoov, for myself, thank you all for joining us this week. Hope you learned a lot with our recap, and we've got some great content moving forward here for the rest of the season. So we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
Take it easy.